So thank you for making time today with, I'm sure, like everyone's very busy agenda. Happy to have you on. We're recording the session, so we will be sharing this for the people that are not able to join. We're very excited to be getting together today to talk about perimenopause and weight management, which I know I personally will benefit a lot from the conversation today. I'm Marina Penn. Let me start introducing myself. I'm Marina Penn. I'm co-founder of NABI, which is a wellness company focused on perimenopause, and really what we're trying to do is redefine the way that women go through perimenopause. I'm joined here by EJ Kim, who's my co-founder as well. And we are really looking to, as we always say, we're an education first company, and we want to lead with information and education and provide knowledge, and also educate ourselves as we go through this journey, just really to understand the things that happen to our bodies and our minds, our health, our spirit during perimenopause, and really try to understand what are the best solutions that we can have to address certain areas of our life during this time. So as part of that, we tend to do these master classes with experts in different fields, just to discuss topics that we are very personally invested in knowing more of. And as a result, of course, our community is also very invested on understanding and building knowledge. We believe that being informed and knowledgeable ultimately gives us agency to make the best decisions for ourselves and for our journey. Every woman's perimenopausal journey is different. So just like really arming ourselves with knowledge just to understand what better suits our needs and a specific need that we have during this time of our lives. A quick PSA before I hand it over to EJ and introduce Anne Maria. Everything that's discussed today, this is information, and with the purpose of sharing this information with the community. It should not be taken as medical advice. As we always say, please consult with your physician, any questions you have. We're going to be recording this session, so just for you to be aware of this, and also if you need to rewatch later or want to share this with anyone that missed it today. And then as we go through a session, please feel free to drop questions on the chat. We're going to be addressing them as we go through or at the end, depending what makes sense. But yes, just like let's keep this conversational, and just like raise your hand, ask your questions. We're here to get all our doubts and questions answered by Anne Maria. So I'll hand it to you, EJ. And Anne Maria, I'm very happy to have you with us today.
Thanks, Marina. So, hi, everybody. So I'll be moderating this session today. And for a small, intimate group like this, and the subject that's so private sometimes, right, and personal, it's been very helpful, actually, at some point, and people can even feel free to come on camera. And if you want to ask questions as we go through this dialogue, some good stuff could come out as well by just sharing our experiences. So we leave that open. So to kick this off, let me please introduce Anne Maria. So Anne is a hormonal weight loss coach, and she helps peri women lose weight and belly fat while eating food guilt-free. We're going to unpack that, because it sounds like really good. So we're going to unpack that and really try to understand what it means. She's peri herself, and she's based in Canada, but most of her clients are based in US. So after the webinar, if you want to learn more about her, how she's helping and some of the tips that she's sharing, please feel free to follow her at N_Maria_Tom on Instagram. So from an intro perspective, Anne Maria, what else do we know about you? Do we need to know about you? Do you like to add a bit more?
Sure. Yeah, I can definitely add a lot more here. Hi, ladies. I hope you guys are all doing well today, and thank you for showing up for this webinar. And it really shows how enthusiastic you ladies are in really understanding more about peri and implementing those into your day-to-day weight management efforts. Now, just to give you guys a little bit of a background, the moment I hit puberty, my hormones went out of whack. Okay, that's that's the simplest way to put it. I struggle with hormonal imbalance since I was a little like a teenager, right? It started with insulin resistance, ovarian cyst, and then multiple like chocolate cyst. At least that's what the doctors called on multiple multiple cluster forms on both my ovaries, and that really impacting the other hormones as well inside my body, and struggling with infertility. I remember one time one of the doctors said I can never have kids because of whatever like I was going through, and of course I am someone who always wanted to have kids, right? I wanted to build a big family and wanted to have kids, so it really broke my heart when I heard that, but I never believed it because I knew there was a way out. So I had my own struggles with hormones, and I still struggle with them, but my area of expertise is more along the lines of weight management, because the knowledge that I have gained through 10 years of working experience as an emergency room RN, so that was my background, my professional background before getting into the space of health and fitness. But working in the emergency department really opened my eyes into how much preventative care is important, right? We all go see the doctor when something is broken, right? So why don't we actually take care of it before we break it, right? So that's where the preventative side of fitness is going to come into play. And I don't think there are so many people that are talking about this, especially perimenopause. One of the biggest reasons being that perimenopause is not easily diagnosed, right? There is no blood work diagnosis for perimenopause. It is purely symptom-based diagnosis. And as women, as early as 30 years can get into perimenopause, which is crazy. But it took a lot for me to accept that I am only 33 years old, but I'm in perimenopause. So I'm sure there are so many women that is watching me today, or even watching the replay, would be able to resonate with whatever I'm going to discuss today. But that's a little background of who I am, what my background is. And right now I work with perimenopausal weight management, and I'm a women's hormonal health practitioner as well. And I'm really excited to join you guys today.
Amazing. That was a great introduction. Thank you for that. How did you find out that you're in peri? Let's start.
Good question. I stopped feeling like myself, it's very hard. It's gonna go deep, right? It's gonna get a little bit deeper because I started to experience these weird feelings inside of me where I felt like this is not normal. This is not PCOS, because I lived with PCOS my entire life. And I know exactly what PCOS feels like. I lived it for my entire life. I lived with PCOS. And this hit a little bit different. I am emotionally sometimes unavailable. Sometimes I'm too much emotional, like mood swings all over the place. I might get irritated with my kids for even the simplest things. Like, can I sit with mama for 5 minutes, mom? I'm like, no, I'm on my phone or whatever, right? I am so occupied with my thoughts or whatever. So my mood swings was the one that actually got me into talking to a functional health provider and actually getting myself diagnosed, because I feel like that's kind of oozed into the relationship I was having that I was having with my kid and my husband. And I started seeing that getting affected because of the way I was perceiving myself or whatnot. And another thing for me is also midsection weight gain. That's something very common we see as well, like unexplained weight gain around your tummy and around your hip region. And there is a reason why this happens. So that was something that I struggle with. And another thing is feeling hot and cold simultaneously, right? Sometimes I'm like cold, like I even like wearing socks at the moment right now. And I wear socks even on the hottest summer months. So sometimes it gets too hot for me, and then some other times it's way too cold, right? I just want to take all my clothes away. So that's like hot flashes, hot and cold feelings, mood swings. And I also had some bladder issues, but not too much. I worked on my pelvic health a little bit, and that's been taken care of. But these are some of the major things that I can think of, like right off the bat, that everyone can resonate with. And most of us go through these things like pretty much on a daily, and we ignore it, thinking it's just our mood. It's just whatever, right? So these were the main ones for me, when that made me realize, oh, I need to go check this out with a functional health provider, because we know there is no official diagnosis in the mainstream medicine. So there's no point in, they're just going to say, take birth control pill. That's what I was told before.
Yes.
And that's the answer that I don't want to hear. I want to get into the depths of the things and figure this out. But was anyone able to resonate with any of this that I just said? Or it's just me?
No, I'm aggressive nodding. I know that between Marina and myself, I mean, I'm nodding, and there's someone, Carmen said, I have 2 out of those 3 symptoms. And, I think your experience is very relatable. And myself, I grew up with PCOS. I learned about it in my mid-30s when I was looking into fertility, and learning about it in my 30s, right? Because I was also on the birth control pill for so long. Why? Because I was told to do so.
Mhm.
But then I think in our 30s, we start relearning about our bodies. And then, so no, some of these things I was like aggressive nodding, and I'm glad that some of the folks on this call are also acknowledging this. Yeah, mood swing is a real thing, right? It is real. And rage. I mean, like, being very snappy, impatient, that is real too. So people talk about the rage as well. So a lot of these things are super relatable. And thank you for those who are chiming in on a chat. Want to talk about the weight gain. You talked about like there is a reason for this. And by the way, I want to do a quick plug. So the pelvic health, you talked about it. We do understand how important pelvic health is. So we actually did a webinar on this a couple of weeks ago. So it's available on our YouTube channel if you want to learn more about why pelvic health matters and how that relate to sexual health. So you can go and check it out and not be live on YouTube. So going back to the weight gain and especially the midsection. So Anne-Maria, if you don't mind, just kind of talk to us a little bit about the why. Why is this happening, especially in perimenopause?
Sure. So what we have seen so far is, on an average, women can gain anywhere from like 2 to 5 pounds during this hormonal transition time. But sometimes you may find yourself gaining a little bit more than that, right? Like 5 to 10 pounds, and that like lingering there without you, even if you change things on your diet or exercise, it doesn't matter. Right. So it's very important that you understand what actually happens during this time to really uncover this, so that, the measures that you're taking is not something you are doing out of desperation or because someone else is doing it and you just want to implement it. Right. So one thing that actually happens is fat redistribution. I am not sure if you have heard about this in perimenopause, is because our estrogen and progesterone is fluctuating pretty erratically, our fat kind of starts to redistribute, meaning from peripheral region and everything, it starts to accumulate more around the midsection. Okay, so this is called the abdominal fat redistribution, and this can actually predispose you to metabolic conditions that can occur, like eventually like type 2 diabetes and other metabolic syndromes that most women, like hypertension, high cholesterol, those kind of things is what I mean by metabolic disorders, that you have the chance of getting those in the future when you gain too much of that abdominal fat, right? And why does it's happen? It's technically, there is no like one single reason why this is happening. It's multifaceted, okay? And then the way one woman gains this fat and manages this fat is completely different from the other person gains and manages it. Okay, so the main culprit we can say is your estrogen and progesterone really shifting. And another thing that is really adding to this, it's more like putting fuel into the burning into the flames already, is continuous stress. Okay, just think about it. You're going through perimenopause. You're experiencing this transition in your life that you never experienced before, and you feel like you're not getting supported enough, right? And you have all the responsibilities in the world that you need to take care of. So that stress is also adding, and stress is a generic term, right? It doesn't have to be your work-related stress or whatever. It can also be stress from the exercises you're doing too. Say, for example, one thing as women, or what I have seen when people start to get this tummy fat, what they automatically try to do is they increase the amount of workouts they're doing, and then they eat less. Okay. If you think about it, that is another external stress that is being added to the equation. Okay. And whenever we are going through stress, our stress related hormone, which is cortisol, kicks in. Okay. And what happens here is fascinating. There is going to be a little dance that happens between your hormone cortisol and insulin. Okay. It goes for a little salsa dance here. Okay. Because when this cortisol is released, right, there's a surge of glucose that is going to be released into the bloodstream. And then the reason why this happens is because your body is thinking, okay, I'm in a perceived stress right now, and my muscles need all the glucose it can actually take to fight or flee. Okay. So glucose is going to be readily available in the bloodstream for this flight or fleeing action. And your brain cannot differentiate it between your perimenopausal, cortisol release, or is it actually you are in a danger, a lion is coming to eat you or something, right? Your brain cannot really differentiate it. So your glucose stays elevated. So your blood cannot have all the glucose sitting in there, right? It has to go out of your bloodstream. Otherwise, it's fatal. It's called hyperglycemia. It's fatal. You can even die. So what happens is your pancreas gets stimulated and it keeps sending insulin to remove this excess glucose from the bloodstream. And this happens in just autopilot in the background. This just happens in the background every time we are so stressed out about anything. Like not even just weight, I'm talking about anything, right? So we're not really giving enough time for our body to rest or prioritize weight loss even in the first place. Our body is really trying so hard to keep us safe. That's what exactly it is doing. Okay. So what's really happening right now is your cortisol is elevated, your insulin levels are elevated, your glucose level is elevated. Since you're always having that elevated levels of insulin, you're consistently going to crave for sugary, fatty food, meaning what? You're eating more than you should normally do. Like, how many times I have heard women saying, Anne, I resort food to comfort. Whenever I'm stressed out, I want to eat something. This is the reason why. This is the science behind you feel like you need to eat something. And whenever we crave for it, we crave for hyper palatable, highly fatty, highly sugary food, meaning it's high in calories, meaning not so much midsection friendly. Right. So we are adding more fuel to the equation right now. It's really throwing off your hormonal equilibrium. And something else also happens during this time because your adrenal glands is so keen on producing more cortisol. Okay, rush more cortisol. She's in danger. She's in danger. And the adrenals are not even thinking about other hormones now. It's all shut down. And this process itself is called hormonal steal because that cortisol is taking the limelight and stealing all the other hormones to produce more cortisol. Okay, so this is a phenomenon that happens. Like extensive research has been done on why this happens, and there is like no one reason why this happens. It's this combination of things, unfortunately, is triggering this hyperpalatable eating practices. And we think we are okay doing exercise, but we are adding more stress to the equation. The more stress we add to the equation, this runs in the background. And it becomes extremely challenging to get rid of that weight. Sorry, I kept on going and going and going.
No, but this is all great stuff. I'm tracking, and you made me realize when I have a very high intense, like stressful day, why do I like order fried chicken and fries? That sounds so good. It's because body is craving, and I want to talk about a little bit about how do you then tell your brain read like a pivot, right? So we'll talk about that in a bit. But since you work with a lot of clients who are in peri and trying to lose weight, just want to kind of talk to you about like what are some of the big myths, would you say? People come to you and like have a completely wrong understanding. I mean, you kind of touched on that, but just wanted to understand if there's any like big myth busting we need to do when it comes to management in perimenopause.
Sure. So I think the biggest myth out there when it comes to peri, it's perimenopause itself, because people think perimenopause is either absence of periods or irregular periods. And most women may have a regular period. Okay, they might have like a lighter flow compared to before, or even like a regular flow. And there are 50 other symptoms that can tell you that you're perimenopause. If I'm allowed to share my screen here, I'll show you a picture. 1 second. Let me see if I can pull that up here. Okay. Let me know if you can see my screen here.
Can see it?
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Cool. So this is what perimenopausal changes looks like. Okay. Let me blow that up a little bit.
Okay.
It really affects like every single part of our body, like every single, like systemic. We are just concentrating here on weight gain, right? And just weight gain is just like one small thing in this entire picture. It affects us in so many different ways, right? Like, have you any of you guys here watching right now or even watching replay feels like they're experiencing any of these? Maybe just weight gain and anxiety and mood swings and poor libido and stuff like that are the one that stands out the most, right? But there are like so many symptoms that we can talk about when we are really talking about perimenopause. And the reason why this happens though is because of this particular hormone like estrogen. Okay, because your hormone estrogen is really impacting each and every organ in your body, like every single thing. Your heart is really dependent on estrogen to protect it from heart attack and things like that, by from cholesterol and everything. And also your breast, our breast gets saggy, not soggy, saggy, um when we are in this transitional period of time. And that's because of this, like we don't have either enough amount of estrogen, or the amount of progesterone is not really balancing out with the amount of estrogen that we are having, right? And you just look at it like like we all put creams and everything on our face hoping it is going to help with the wrinkles, but it's more internal, right? Because estrogen is really, really, really impacting the way we look, we feel, we walk, we talk, like everything. It plays a huge role. So I had to show you this picture because I felt like this is so important to know, because we always attribute perimenopause to either absence of periods or just weight gain, like midsection weight gain. But there is more to it. And the reason why there is more to it is because of the influence of that estrogen. And we do not have enough progesterone to back up our estrogen anymore, if that makes sense.
Any of the symptoms that people found really surprising? I think for me, if you go back to the slide, they're kind of talking about the symptoms. For me, I went through a good amount of like dentist emergency calls, and I didn't realize that my teeth and gum and like has anything to do with it. So that was surprising. And then also feeling dizzy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know they're everything that I'm checking here, but just that was some of the surprising things for me to learn. But I don't know if there's anyone else who would be happy to share. I think some people talked about the psychological. I mean, that's real. Like I think anxiety, nervousness, and feeling that sense of like overwhelmingness. You used to like tackle 5 things at once, and then somehow you get to a point where like, what was I doing? You know?
Yeah.
Dry skin. Yes, dry skin is huge. My goodness. Each year, I experienced it too. And I was like, wasn't sure why I kept doing that. And I was like, oh gosh, it's a thing.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy what our little hormones can do to us. It's really crazy and fascinating at the same time.
exactly. And then learning about the role of estrogen in our bodies and right. So there's just a lot of the connected tissue of like our ovary. It's not just the reproductive, it's actually connected to our brain and the heart. And so yeah, there's a lot to learn. And I think peri is the time for us to learn, I think, so that we know how to sort of readapt, if you will, different lifestyle adjustments and really just think differently about our strategy of fitness, diet, even just mindfulness and how we prioritize things in life. So I think that's all very important. So I want to get into more of like you working with your clients and also yourself, because you are the peri woman in it and have been very successfully like how managing your weight actively. So wanting to kind of talk about the active aspect of weight management. Like how are you actually helping? I understand everybody's case is different, but how are you helping? If you don't mind just sharing a bit more of like scenarios of different type of people coming in, how do you help them achieve their goals? What are some of the actionable things that we can do, we should think about? We'd love to hear.
Sure. So the biggest the biggest thing that you need to do when you are navigating through this transitional period in your life is looking your health and fitness journey from a different lens. Okay. Do not expect the things that you did in your 20s to work anymore. Okay. Because just think about it. What we are always programmed to do whenever we want to tackle some belly fat, or we want to get rid of that last 5 pounds or 10 pounds, is I can just do a 30 days challenge, right? I can cut my sugar out, I can cut whatever food that I'm eating, or I can fast for a little bit, and then I'm going to be back to normal. That's not going to work anymore. And the reason for being that is the amount of visceral fat we have has increased quite a bit. Remember, I talked about that fat redistribution that happened. So even if you did not gain too much fat, you still had a lot more fat redistribution moving from your periphery and everything. It started to redistribute towards your abdominal region, right? So if you think about it, adding more exercise and cutting more food is not going to cut it, right? So what you need to do differently is really focusing on that visceral fat. Okay. And that visceral fat is driven by your hormones, inflammation, gut health. I cannot stress this enough. For perimenopausal women, gut health is going to be the king. Okay. It is going to be the paramount importance. Like if we do not have enough good gut bacteria, then all the estrogen that we are producing, there is no way it is going to get excreted as we would normally do. It is going to go back to your system, your blood, like your circulatory system again, because we do not have enough good bacteria to excrete it out. This is very important. So when I work with my clients, we work on these 3 things. We don't even talk about caloric deficit until and unless the 3 things are done. And I call it the trio strategy. So what it is gut health, hormonal imbalance, and stress management. Okay. It's super duper important. And when we focus on those 3 things, weight loss just happen as a byproduct of you changing those 3 things. Okay. Let me actually share the screen again to show you something else here. One second. I actually want to show you guys like case study of someone that I created for actually another webinar, but I think it would be a good place to share this. This would be a good place to share this. Can you see my screen again?
Yes.
Okay. How do I maximize this? Oh, here. Okay, there you go. Okay, so this one, this the scale, this thing that you see on the screen right now is of someone who is 50 or 52 years old. She is still going through perimenopausal transition, not menopausal, she hasn't hit her menopause just yet. Still having symptoms and everything, but irregular periods and stuff like that was not a concern for her. Okay. To give a little bit of a background story, and this is the type of clients that I get on a regular basis. So I thought this would be a great case study to share. So she works as a clerk in a hospital in the cardiac unit. So she has a lot of like intellectual, like, brain work happening with everything, but like physically she doesn't move too much. Okay, she sits on the desk and then she just does her computer work, and then she might go for a walk or something after she finishes work. So that's pretty much it. Her lifestyle is pretty sedentary, but what she was trying to do is force activity, okay, by doing 10 to 15K steps after she gets home, because just to compensate for the amount of sitting she is doing at work. So that's a routine, 10 to 15K steps every single day. And then she also comes from an ethnic background, meaning she technically attends so many events, like family events and things like that, pretty much like every other week. It's crazy. She attends a lot of events. The main issue with her is that she can fast for a little bit and then she loses some weight. But the moment she stops fasting, or she has to attend the events, or she want to go out with her kids and whatnot, or even if she had to take a break from the 10K, 15K steps that she's doing every single day, her weight just came back. Okay, weight just came back so much. I cannot share her picture because she different religion and she has some reservations. And I'm just going to show you the graph here. And the graph that you're seeing here is like 20 or almost like 20 pounds difference, and in short period of time. And let me tell you, she was struggling with this weight for 6 years. Okay, so for 6 years, she did the same thing over and over again, like fasting 10K steps, doesn't budge, right? And then she go back and hit at it in different angle, thinking hitting at it in different angle is going to give her a different result. But in reality, with the piece that she was missing here, she never concentrated on her gut health or in decreasing her visceral fat percentage or balancing out her hormones. Okay, so that was a missing piece for her. And this is just like 16 weeks of difference. Just imagine 5-6 years of not seeing any results and seeing this much change in just 16 weeks. I'm not saying this to impress you or anything, but just to impress upon you on how much it is important managing your gut health and balancing out your hormones and stress management is. It's super duper important. Okay. And she achieved this. Let me just see if I can. Yeah. So I just also want to show you what she was eating in terms of calories. Once, like first when we started working with her, she was like eating barely 1,000 calories, and like 1,000 calories, my toddler might eat more than that. Okay, that's very less food for a working woman at the age of 50 when she's already going through this much in terms of hormones inside. Your metabolism is supposed to work so fast because there's so much happening inside of our bodies, hormonally speaking, right? And eating this much food was one of the biggest reasons why she was not seeing the results she wanted. She was under eating it, and then she was overcompensating it with 10 to 15K steps every single day, right? And was she consistent? No, she was not consistent, because this was not a routine she was able to consistently do for the rest of her life. And I circled this just to show you how much of workout she actually was doing with me. That's 18 minutes. Okay, 18, like 20 to 30 minutes was what I would recommend for perimenopausal women. Like, please don't overdo it. This is the biggest mistake that you can make, is you overdo the exercise. This is a perfect time. People think that they need to sign up for Orange Theory classes and boot camps. Okay. I don't know how many ladies come to me and say, 5 minutes to an hour, so much of energy. I love it, but I'm stuck. But my weight is not budging. This is the reason why. Because just remember, if we rewind, the little dance I said about the cortisol and insulin is making, right? That dance is happening in the background every boot camp that you're attending. Okay, so that cortisol production is continuous. It's happening. So like going from 10 to 15K steps every single day and too much workouts to just how many days was she? Like 3-4 days. And you can see like it's not like super regular either. She misses it here and there. But 20 to 30 minutes, that's all she needed to do, right? All she needed to do was take a step back, give her body the amount of time it needed to prioritize weight loss. Okay, if you're constantly focusing on weight loss and caloric restrictions and over exercising, you're constantly putting your body through this intense stress, meaning your body is not going to prioritize weight loss. Your body is going to keep prioritizing survival to help us manage stress. That's all that happens. Weight loss doesn't happen. Okay, so again, I just want to also show you, because most people also think that they need to cut down carbs, and mostly what they need to eat is a lot of protein. Okay, and that's not true. Majority of your food has to come from carbohydrate, especially during this time of your life, because you need more energy this time. If you're constantly tired, constantly hungry, constantly feeling defeated, and you're doing so many things on your own, where do you feel like you're gonna get that energy from? Food. And carbohydrate is the macronutrient that is equipped to provide you with energy. Protein's role is not to provide you energy. It is to give the enough amount of fuel for your muscle so that your muscle can repair and rebuild and it can grow, right? And the job of the fat, like the macronutrient fat, is to help with hormonal balance optimization. Okay, carbohydrate is the only energy resource that we can rely on for energy purposes. Okay, so if you look at it, technically more of her food, most of her calories is coming from carbs, and next is coming from fat, and the rest is protein. This is just her life. Okay, don't think this might be 100% applicable to you. It might be a little bit different. Maybe you want to eat a little bit more protein than fat for you, right? But this is what made most sense with her lifestyle. Okay, so when she started to implement things that made sense with her lifestyle and not like against it, and she constantly riding against the wave, that's when her body started to prioritize weight loss. And once the body starts to prioritize weight loss, it's going to happen so quick, just like that. It doesn't even take a lot of time, to be 100% honest. And this is the calories she was consuming just before she graduated from our coaching. Just remember, I don't know if you remember what I showed you before, eating 1,000 calories, something, right? Now she's eating 1,800 calories. Macros hasn't changed much, 44%. It's pretty much the same, but she's technically eating more food. So, but with the knowledge that we have, eating more food is related to weight gain. We always think we need to eat less to create weight loss. And that's the biggest mistake that we are making. It's not eating less, it's eating the right amount. Maybe whatever you're eating is too much for you. That I cannot say right now. Okay, but there's also chances that you're not eating enough for the amount of activity that you're doing, and the amount of metabolic processes that are happening inside your body, so you're not probably eating enough. And let me tell you, more than 85% of the time, it's that you're not eating enough, the reason why you're staying stuck. Okay, so again, yeah, 20 pounds is what she was able to lose.
Incredible. That's incredible. And I'm sure everybody has a lot of questions, so please keep them coming, because we're going to have a Q&A section. But just a quick question on the fitness, because we often hear like, I'm definitely guilty of not moving enough. And we talk about like 10 to 15, like 10K steps, right?
Yeah, it's popular.
What are the sort of recommended moves, the fitness perspective that you recommend?
Sure. So I always say, look at your lifestyle. Okay. If you feel like you can do 10 to 15K steps every day for the rest of your life, do it. That's your routine. Okay. But if you have a life where you cannot do it, but you can do maybe 20 minutes of workouts 3 to 4 days a week without that putting too much stress on your body, then that's going to be your routine. Whatever you do, don't just think from weight loss perspective. Okay. Just the reason why people take these kind of desperate measures is because they always put their goal and themselves into a box, right? For example, I want to lose 20 pounds or 30 pounds in the next 5 months. I want to lose this much weight in this much period of time. Now you're putting so much pressure on yourself and expectation that if you don't reach that goal, then that's a failure, right? So the way I look at it, and the way I train my clients to look at it, is this: don't put a timeline to it. Okay, so let's figure out a routine where you can consistently do it for the rest of your life, is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about 4 months, 5 months, 1 year until you lose that weight. I'm talking about forever. That changes your perspective. Then you'll be sitting and thinking like, oh no, I can do 15K steps every single day forever. No, I might be able to do that for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or maybe a couple months, right? So that alone, that realization alone will give you so much perspective into what you need to be doing differently compared to what you're doing now, and realistically speaking, in terms of movement. So if you're perimenopause, like I know most of you guys probably are, minimal is the way to go. Okay, minimal is the way to go. 3 to 4 days a week is more than enough. But the thing is, you got to be consistent with it. Okay, repetition is what is going to give you results. That's why I said, pick your poison. Pick a routine that you feel like you can consistently stick to. Doesn't matter what happens in your life. Your kids get sick, you have a vacation coming up, whatever that is, you still be able to manage that routine somehow. Even though you cannot be 100% every single time, you still can manage it.
I'm going to squat. I heard squatting is good, and I don't have to go anywhere to do it. Marina, do you want to run us through the Q&A?
Yeah, let's do that. And thanks, Anne Maria. It's been incredibly enlightening. We were, and Kim, you were just saying like, oh my God, eating more carbs. I've never heard that. It's like we get slapped, for eating more carbs or even, wanting to eat more carbs. So that's, a bit of a bad word. And it seems that, it's different. But I want to go to something that you were mentioning before as you were talking about gut health. And you were talking about how critical it is to achieve gut health in order to, like process your hormones properly, and then just like really be able to absorb, like the nutrition of the meals that you eat, and then ultimately lose weight. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about, what it means to have good gut health and how we can achieve that.
Sure. So again, like when it comes to gut health and hormonal balance and everything, there is no one size fits for all strategy. I have to profess that first. But I will tell you some of the things that I encourage my clients to do, and I did on myself to take a step towards having better gut health. Okay, whenever when we think of gut health and putting good bacteria to our tummies, we always think of probiotics and prebiotics, right? Always like taking pills and stuff like that. One thing to keep in mind is if you cannot do anything, then just, taking some kind of probiotics is going to, of course, it's going to help you. It's doing something better than nothing kind of scenario. But what I would say is do something that can actually increase the amount of colonization inside your gut. Okay. Because we are living in the time of highly processed food, hyper palatable foods. We're always on the go, like Starbucks coffee holding coffee. Like we're always eating something that is not gut friendly. Like even the grains that we consume has certain proteins in it, can really trigger inflammation, especially if you are autoimmune. If you have any kind of autoimmune condition, then that can really trigger that inflammatory process and in turn create more unhealthy gut microbiome. Okay, so eliminating those kind of things, like I'm not saying to completely stop eating processed food and things like that, but be a little bit more mindful. Okay, one way it's easy to say be a little bit more mindful, but the way I implement it in my life, and also I ask my clients to do, is always dress your carbs. Okay, put a little pan, something on your carbs, whatever bad carbs, refined carbs that you're eating, so that we're not pushing that to the bloodstream so fast. Okay, because just think about it this way: we eat a piece of chocolate, right? It's available. That glucose is readily now available in your bloodstream within 10 minutes. Okay, and we are like, we probably are sitting there scrolling through our Instagram or at our desk. We're not going to use that energy like right now, unless you're going to go do a workout right after you eat a piece of candy. That's not going to happen every single time, right? So that glucose is readily available, but the body doesn't need that glucose at the moment. What is it going to do? It's going to get stored as fat, right? So one way we can trick this metrics a little bit, and again, this is just a hack. This is not going to work every single time. You got to improve your improve your eating habits a little bit and rebuild that relationship with food. But one thing I do is consume good amount of fiber if I am eating something like pizza or something, right? Like I do this every single time. If we buy pizza for Pizza Friday, we have Pizza Friday at home. Our kids wants pizza, so we get it. So I eat a couple of pieces. So if I do not eat my fiber, and this can come from like your salad or anything like vegetables, and to make it super easy, sometimes I just drink some fiber supplement. Okay, so I take a whole bunch of like a glass of fiber supplement, I drink it, and then I eat my pizza. Okay, and the only macro, okay, the only type of carb and the macro in general that does not get converted as sugar is your fiber. It doesn't get converted as nothing. It just stays as a block. And what this is going to do is this is going to delay that sugar, that glucose reabsorption and the gastric emptying. What this is going to do is, again, delay the amount of fat that can get deposited. As you know, instead of like that glucose readily available within the next 15 minutes, it is going to take another 1 hour or two before the glucose can become available. And by that time, you can go up and go for a walk or do whatever you want. Right. And again, like this is a small hack that I ask my clients to use whenever they want to attend events. And if they are attending events every single week, I ask them, hey, just do this. Right. So you won't be eating as much food because fiber is so filling. right? So if I would eat 5 pizza, if I did not consume any fiber, I would be only eating 1 or 2 slices because my tummy is already full now, right? So that's one aspect of it on, and when I say addressing the carbs, now going back to improving your gut health, we need to really decrease the amount of processed food you're taking. But one thing I would ask you to do is increase the amount of fermented food that you take every day. Okay. So at least once a day. If you cannot do 2 times a day, do at least once a day of fermented food. It can be as easy as pickled what it is, onions, right? Pickled onions, can be pickled vegetables. Kimchi, yeah, kimchi is another example. Yeah, anything that is fermented. But if you have some kind of thyroid issues, I would say stay away from any raw cabbage situation. Okay, because thyroid issues can really make that worse. Raw cabbage, cruciferous vegetables can make it a little bit worse. But fermented food is going to be like a first step that you can take. Greek yogurt is another good option, but I would say start with your own starter if you can. Okay, you only have to do it once. I maybe I can share with you guys right now, and you can take us like take a picture or something that of a probiotic recipe that I use for my that I created for my client. Let me see if I can show you guys. Yeah, so it's right here. Perfect. Let me share that with you here. And maybe you guys can take a screenshot or something. So you guys can take a screenshot. So this is for inflammation gut health recipe that I created for one of my clients. And this is for her particular situation for inflammation, arthritis, and irritable bowel syndrome, muscle recovery, and all that. But this is the strain that we use. Okay, and there is particular strain for each kind of things that we are working towards when it comes to like gut health and everything. So you mix this with, and you just have to follow the instructions, and you can create a starter on your own and then create yogurt from it, right? If you're really keen on improving your gut health that way. So this would be a good option. It's a little bit of effort in the beginning, like creating that recipe in the first place, and then you just have to save that starter for the next yogurt. But that's what I would recommend.
Love
If you're
it.
really keen
I
in.
love it. Like
Totally.
the previous times that I've done my own yogurt, I've done it like using like a yogurt,
Yeah.
like a store yogurt, and then I use that as a strain, and then I keep, you know. But this is great, and just like curiosity, because my own education, like where do you get the strain from? Like,
Yeah, you can get it from most of the health food stores. I actually I think I have written it somewhere. Reliable is, yeah, so yeah, I even put that in there for her. It's available in all, like most of the retail stores and pharmacies. So yeah, most of the health food stores where I get the specific strains from. The staffs there are super knowledgeable, so you just have to tell them, hey, I'm looking for this particular strain and help me find it. So they should have no issues finding that for you. But that's what I would do if you're in the market looking for like your own starter for creating that yogurt recipe that's specifically for gut health.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hope this was helpful.
It also has a lot of protein.
Yeah.
It's a nice mixture. And
Absolutely.
And this brings me to my next question, which is, you talk a lot about protein, and just like ingesting, we're talking lean protein ideally, but we hear so much about the importance of protein and starting the day with protein, and how protein, not only helps to build muscle, but then also helps with, like just keeping, that craving, like sugar cravings or food cravings, like at ease, so you're not just like all the time wanting to eat something. So protein has, like really a lot of benefits during this time. I'm always curious about how much protein should we eating every day. And then what does that look like? Because we hear like, oh, 30 grams of protein of, like at lunch. And I'm like, is that like a chicken thigh? Is it like a chicken bite? Like, what does that look like? So I'd love for you to walk us through what ideally protein intake during the day of one single day looks like, and what, like from a portion perspective, some references.
Sure. So the amount of protein you take will also depend on the type of activity you're doing, right? Because any macronutrient that taken in excess is going to get stored as fat. Okay, because there is a misconception, there's a myth out there that we take all the protein and all of it is going to go into your muscle and you're going to build a muscle, and the more muscle you have, the more fat you're going to lose. Okay, but there's only so much your muscle can process at a given time. Okay, so 15 to 20 grams of protein, and that has to come from your whole food because of the bioavailability. Okay, because protein powders and stuff like that, yeah, it's easily available, but then it's going to get the thing I said about glucose absorption and everything. It's going to get absorbed so fast. It's readily available. It's really good right after your workout. Okay. But if you are someone who is not like, let's say you're not a power lifter, you're not like really keen on building like so much muscle, or like, you're just someone that's like a regular person doing 3 to 4 days of workout, strength training and whatnot, what I would aim for is like 15 to 20 grams of protein should be more than enough for you. Okay. And try to cut down as the protein that is coming from powders and bars just to one serving per day in your entire 24 hours. Okay. Because most women, they have this conception that they need to eat a lot of protein. And what they try to do is they try to eat all of it from protein powders and meal replacements and shakes and bars and everything. And it's not healthy. Most of it's actually getting stored as fat, and your kidneys are actually has to work overtime to process these bigger molecules. And then you're going to end up having kidney failure. Okay, so I worked in the dialysis for some time, and we see these buffed up guys coming with renal failure. They look healthy, right? They look healthy. They are so muscular and everything, but when you take too much of like protein powders and stuff like that, it's going to put too much of taxation on your kidneys. So keep it just once a day in the one serving per day in then 24 hours. And especially only on the days that you're working out, use your protein powder. Otherwise, your protein has to come from whole foods so that it's available readily and it's getting distributed over a period of time rather than just in the next 1 hour, in the just 2 hour. Rather, it takes 6 to 8 hours to slowly digest. And this is how you would keep your cravings and everything at bay as well. When you eat more protein food that is coming from whole source like chicken, whatever that is, like prawns. If you guys are really keen, just come to my Instagram and I'll send you a recipe pack that has 50 plus protein recipes in there if you're really interested. Just say that you came from this NABI webinar so that I know what I'm talking about. And I'll send that over to you. Okay. So meeting your protein goal is easy. It's very easy, you guys. Please don't overthink it. Okay. Because we are all so caught up on protein that eating so much of protein, just eat 15 to 20. And it's easy to get 15 to 20 grams of protein. It's just 2 whole eggs in a day. The way I eat it is, I can explain that to you if that would be helpful. So I eat one cup of egg white, and for me that's 30 grams of protein. Okay, I do that every single day, and I eat that with 2 extra pieces of toast, with some peanut butter or jam or anything, whatever I want on it, or avocados or whatever. But that's my protein for the breakfast. And on the days I don't like to eat eggs, I usually eat some kind of pancakes. And again, I throw a couple of eggs in there and use the Kodiak pancake mix, which has a little bit more protein in there. So you can get really creative, just the way it is. And then another way of doing it is in between my lunch and between the lunch and the breakfast time, we get that little bit time, right? Like a little bit snacky time. So I do 2 crackers, and I always look for high protein crackers. So the crackers that I eat has 2 grams per cracker. So I eat 2 plus 2, 4 grams protein already in the crackers. And then I put some cheese on top of it. And there are specific cheese. Again, if you look in the back of the ingredients in the store that you go to, choose the high protein cheese that is available and put that in between the crackers and eat it. Easily 12 grams of protein. Okay. In between your main meals. And for the main meal, I'm South Indian. I am big on curry and, rice and everything. So most of the time it's rice and curry for me, but my curry usually comes from prawns, fish, chicken, whatever that is a little bit more high protein. So again, like 25 grams of protein from the curry alone. Okay. And then like, this is how I do it. Like, it's pretty easy when you don't overthink it, but then you plan it ahead of time a little bit. Even from the grocery store shopping is going to what's going to help you.
This is super helpful. At least, just to have that visual measurement of what it looks like. And I want to make sure that we're addressing, some of the questions that have been coming up. And I see here a question around any benefits on intermittent fasting and talking about fasting during perimenopause, because there's like different, perspectives and views on how to do it or if it works at all. So I would love to get your take on, how you go about it.
Sure. So I have a question for that is why do you want to do intermittent fasting? Like, what is the reason behind intermittent fasting? Like, what benefits are we thinking about? If you're open to talk, like unmute yourself and talk, we can have a little interactive session here. If you're
And
open.
Maria, I asked this question. Hi, I'm Mamta.
Hi, Mamta. Hi.
Hi. So I am curious about if there are any benefits in intermittent fasting. My main reasons for doing this are that after I eat, I experience some bloating, and I'm not sure what the cause of that is, but I like to do intermittent fasting because I do starting early, like 7 a.m. is my first meal, and I try to finish eating by like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Because when I'm not bloated, I sleep better. So that's kind of my main reason for structuring my day this way. I also find that I work from home, and so food is like really easy and accessible. And I find that if I do intermittent fasting, then I'm keeping kind of the quantity of food that I'm eating under control.
Sure. So when you say you are bloated, are you bloated all the time after every food that you eat, or is there a particular time of the day that you feel more bloated than other?
It's definitely the last meal of the day that I notice it more, and I have not been able over the years to pick out a pattern of food or type. I honestly think that maybe I'm taking in a lot of air when I'm eating. I eat a very whole food plant-based diet. I'm vegan because I'm Jane. So I eat only fruits and vegetables and whole grains. So I don't eat a lot of processed food because of my diet. So I eat a lot of lentils because I'm also Indian. So I know that there could be some bloating factor because of that. But yeah, I'll stop there.
Yeah, sure. So whenever I see people say that they are bloated and complain about bloating, it will start from the breakfast itself. Okay. Like your breakfast, I don't know how you do it, but your breakfast has to be the biggest meal of the day. Okay. Because your breakfast is going to set the stage for the entire day. Right. So if you have a big, bulky breakfast first thing in the morning, the chances are your blood sugars are going to be much more regulated throughout the day. Okay. You're going to feel satiated throughout the day. And by the time it's evening or 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock, you wouldn't even feel like snacking anymore. That's the power of a big, bulky, hearty breakfast first thing in the morning. Okay. So if you're really struggling with bloating and you're not able to figure out a pattern, I'm pretty sure the food that you're consuming, probably not in the right order or the right combination, that is actually causing that bloating. Okay. And intermittent fasting alone, I'm not sure if it is going to solve it for you. Okay. It is going to help you decrease the amount of caloric intake. And most people do that for that particular reason. At least that's what I've heard, because it helps them decrease the amount of calories they're consuming in that time frame, and they're not snacking and everything. But again, the way I look at it is more like a band-aid approach, intermittent fasting is. Okay. So we need to find out, like, why exactly are we not able to stay within the calories if we were not eating out, if you were eating out of that fasting window, for example.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, whatever you do, like, do works best for you. Okay. Some people swear by intermittent fasting, and I'm not here to say that intermittent fasting is a bad thing or anything. But if you're doing that for weight loss, from a weight loss standpoint, and to decrease the amount of calories that you're consuming, there are so many different things that we can do to create the same effect or create more effect compared to intermittent fasting, is what I'm trying to say. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much. And we are at time. So
yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anne Maria. It's been amazing. We're going to share some snippets of this conversation also on our social, and then share with the extensive team, extensive group of women that sign up for this, the link to the recording. But it has been incredibly enlightening, and I know I learned a lot and have, like very effective tips that I can implement tonight, even for dinner. So
Yeah.
appreciate it. Appreciate your time and your insights, and thank you so much. And if there are, do you have a website, Anne Maria, that you want to share?
Great question. So I work predominantly through my Instagram. So my Instagram is plain and simple. It's Anne Maria Tom. You put that on the search bar, I'm going to be the first person that is going to pop up there. But that's where all my resources are going to be. I don't work through website. I'm pretty old school. Everything I do is through Instagram. So people reach out to me on Instagram. I say hi. If I can help, I help. If I can't, I can't. That's how I work. But yeah, please check out my Instagram.
And do you have an email?
Yeah, so I'll put that on the chat box.
If anyone wants to reach out, and if you want to say it out loud, so it's recorded.
Yeah, so yeah, it's antomfitness@gmail.com. And I know some of you guys had some great questions today. So what I want to do is, I don't usually do this, but I want to put a little bit of a link here in the chat box. If you have like some casual questions that you were not able to ask me right now, maybe because you're shy or something, you want to keep personal things personal, but you still wanted to, very curious about asking me this question, I'm just going to put a 15-minute link to my calendar where you can personally talk to me, but just put that you came through Nabi webinar, and just put your question in there so that we can have maybe like a quick 5 or 10-minute chat if you have any pressing questions or anything that you want me to personally go over that you thought was interesting about the conversation today. So that's the link there. You can copy paste it and use it if you like. Yeah.
And Maria, it's saying that the page isn't found when I click on the link. I don't know if the link is correct.
Oh, okay. Thank you for checking that.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Okay, let me do that again. 1 second.
And while Anne Maria's doing that, for those who attended, and I know there are a lot of questions when it comes to Peri, we like to host these sort of, masterclass to just give us the insights and have an opportunity to talk about our symptoms and how we can actually like take an active control of it. So, please come through our Instagram and leave us a comment about, hey, Nabi, you should probably cover XYZ next time. We welcome that so we can really organize our webinar calendar that way. So appreciate that in advance if anyone wants to give us any sort of topics of interest.
Yeah, IUD, I think
I've put my updated calendar in there.
Yeah, it's working now. Yeah, this one is
working.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening and hope to see you soon. Thank you. Thank you, Anne Maria.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Organizing.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Anne Maria.
Bye, everyone.